frame it.
Oh man, what does that say? 44,000 nine hundred
Yeah,
and sixty
I'm
five
not. I'm not. I'm
dollars
not lying.
Dude.
Yeah, I don't want to show my
Oh
address.
my, cool. So
Cool.
we are now live. What's up, man? What's going on, Thomas?
Oh, nothing much. Just I'm happy to be speaking about everything. I appreciate it.
Yeah, yeah. So super cool, man. I think I love doing like interviews with people who have success, especially from like Genesis or people who I've met online, and it's cool to see like your progress, man. And I think it's like really refreshing. Whenever I was like getting started in real estate, on my lunch break, I would just go and like YouTube, and I would just watch people's success stories and stuff, and it kind of like it was just so fulfilling because it gave me motivation to like jump or start, and I'm like, dude, if this guy did it, I can do it. And no, it's going to be really cool. I hope this video gets to somebody that's like, needs that extra push or needs that motivation. Um, so yeah, let's start. So like for the people who don't know, like, who's Thomas? Like, who are you? Where are you from?
Yeah, I'm from probably without traffic, like 30, 35 minutes north of Chicago in the suburbs, the northern suburbs. I just graduated college like genuinely like 4 or 5 days ago. So the
Congratulations,
entire
man.
yeah, for real. Yeah, I didn't tell you that, but um every single deal I have closed has been while I'm in college too. So it's definitely possible. I wasn't like a, physics major or something insanely hard, but I mean, I did double major, so it is still possible to balance it all. But yeah, I'm 21, turning 22 in April of next year. I think this month marks I've probably been wholesaling off market for like 6 months, maybe six and a half. And before that, I was doing some on-market wholesaling, just like a couple on-market, like more creative, like sub two deals. And I was probably doing that for like, again, like 6 months, maybe like seven. And I did three on-market sub two deals there. And then so far I've done three or four off-market deals so far while I was in college.
Dude, that's impressive, man. At that age, I didn't even know, my last name. Like that's super super cool to see. So that's super cool, man. Like to you to balance out college and doing deals by yourself, like it takes a lot. So, uh, you know, props to you, man. And what about like what happened before? Like what were you doing before? What like made you kind of like bridge into, real estate?
Yeah, so for a long time, I mean, since I was like from 16 to a couple months to from 16 to when I was 20 in October, I just worked, like a normal, like I was a waiter, delivery driver for like a restaurant, like not too far away from my house. No real professional experience doing anything. Yeah, I don't really spend a lot of time, my free times, watching like TV or garbage. Like typically, like I'm like reading or like watching a documentary or like learning about like something, even if it's like like ancient history. So I mean, I always do like learning new things and actually not wasting my time on a lot of useless stuff. Of course, there's bits and pieces, but yeah. But before this, I was really just your typical typical high school or typical college person, just kind of, in my opinion, kind of wasting away a little bit, just doing what everyone else is doing and nothing really exceptional or out of the ordinary. I mean, obviously, I'm not curing cancer now, but I'm doing pretty cool stuff, so it's pretty vindicating.
Yeah, dude, really, really impressive stuff. So yeah, man. And for those who don't know, we'll get into like the actual, cool, sexy stuff, and we'll talk about your deal, which was a whopping 42,000 or 43.
45, yeah, 45.
45,000 man. That is, dude, um, that's crazy, man. We call anything over $40,000 assignment fee, like we call it a well. So congratulations to how big of a deal that was. And dude, that's somebody's like, salary. That's somebody's like, yearly salary that you did in one
Yeah,
deal. So
that's what I
very
thought.
impressive, man.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just literally crazy. So yeah, let's get talk about that deal a little bit. But before that, wanted to see if like, because everybody's human, man, and whenever you're first getting started, did you jump into like any doubts or any challenges, before that deal?
Extremely. Even though after I have done deals, because I do think when it comes to actually, and having a lot of grit and overcoming adversity is, definitely one of my strong suits. But, actually getting into my own head, letting things just spiral in terms of, what could go wrong and, just pathing out, the worst possible outcome in my mind and just like really, really overthinking and just kind of like getting in my own head. It's still something that happens occasionally too. Like I think it'll happen my entire life. But yeah, a lot of, you know, on market and off market, deals falling through, problems coming up. It's not, some kind of like magic bullet where you're just going to, get something under contract and make a whole ton of money. Maybe that was the case like 5 years ago, 4 or 5 years ago. It's much easier. But yeah, it's not some kind of, get rich quick scheme. But, if you actually learn and take the time, it can be extremely fruitful.
Okay. Well, yeah, now that's cool to hear. And what about like let's get into now the cool part, like the deal. So take us from like start to finish. How'd you find the deal? Like what marketing did you use? Like what was, just take us through the life of the deal.
Yeah, so I'll literally give everything. So it was just my typical, just absentee, pretty broad filter, like 33% more equity, absentee, contact out a phone number, has property hadn't traded hands for at least 7 years. Uh, Pretty basic filters. Data was from Deal Machine. It was one of my rural campaigns in Oklahoma. So it was honestly, I just compiled it together. So it was probably an hour east of one of my Tulsa campaigns, and it was in a town called Tahlequah, which is maybe like 10,000 people, maybe 11,000 people, and just text blasted the entire campaign. Went through the calls, got in contact with one of the owners. So previously it was the father's property, and I was talking to his widow. And so the property is owned in irrevocable trust by the widow and her two kids. And I was talking with her. She passed me on to her son, who was obviously also one of the owners because it was passed down to him, who was the point person. So I talked with her for probably like probably 2 hours in total over the course of like a week. And she was comfortable enough to give me her son's contact information. I got in contact with him, built a lot of good rapport. Got to know the situation, what they were kind of dealing with, what they wanted to do in the future. Got, pretty deep with them. I probably never built more rapport with the seller. That's probably why it was such a big deal and I was able to get such good terms. So it was,
Nice.
yeah, so it was five duplexes, just five, duplexes, one bed each of them. So just 10 doors, each one, just like a efficiency, probably like 550, 600 square feet, one bed, one bath. And this is typically something like for a cash deal, this would be a little tougher. I mean, because you would still make some cash flow on it. So I mean, since I have done creative deals before, I just I whipped up kind of my starting point for like where terms would be. My purchase price, down payment, interest rate, balloon, and everything like that. Which it honestly seems complicated, but it's like really, really, really not. Like for anybody watching this, like it's nowhere near as intimidating as you think it is because the property is paid off. So I just sent him terms for like a peer-to-peer mortgage. He said he would think about it. Spoke a little more. I got a text out of the blue like 2 weeks after. I was sitting in my business 460. I was sitting in my management class, like genuinely completely useless. Like it's honestly crazy. I was sitting
Yeah.
like the front left of my management class. I had my laptop open and I see I was using Follow Boss for my CRM then, and I see this little notification like on the top left of my screen. And this is either right in the middle of like an exam or like people are giving presentations. And so I gotta like pass people get outside of the door or like it's during an exam and I see, like his name was Shannon. So I mean, like I immediately, realized who it was. And he just said, "Hey, I'm ready to get this thing going." And I was like, okay. So my heart immediately dropped. So I just like ran out the door,
Yeah.
down like one of the little common areas. And I messaged him back, and I kind of gave him a cordial response, like, good to hear it. Let me know your thoughts on the terms I'd sent over, and we can discuss. And then he just responded, "What you sent over looks good." And I was like, "Well, that's kind of crazy." Because I mean, like that was my starting point. I mean, like the term. I mean, the terms could have been a little
You
better.
were ready to negotiate, right?
Oh yeah, yeah. And it's like the terms they could have been like a little more, even more. buyer sided, but this is pretty much as buyer sided they could have been, in my opinion, without it being like totally insulting, but still like tons of room to negotiate. And I was like, okay, that's crazy. So I went back in my class, got my laptop and left again, and everyone's like staring at me like, what's he doing? And like I even called someone I knew too, because I'd never done a seller finance deal. I've only done cash and like novations and sub twos. And I called him, like made sure I did the contract correctly, because a cash contract's like 3 pages. This is more like 14 because there's like a lot of like mumbo jumbo. And like
Right.
I filled out like 25, 30 minutes. Sent it to a guy I know who does a lot of these kinds of deals. He just double confirmed that it was all good, even though it's still pretty simple. Sent it to the seller. There was a little problems because his mom wasn't super mobile, so they didn't want to do an e-sign. So I mailed them the contract. They got it signed, notarized, mailed it back to me, and then I just scanned it with my phone. Then sent it to the title company that was in Tulsa, Empire Title, which is like the best title company in Oklahoma by far. And then that's how it got processed. And then it's even funnier how I found the buyer too, because I was doing some of the dispositions, like fielding some buyers to sell the property, because I don't know anyone who's buying on like this kind of rural Oklahoma. So it can be kind of a harder sell for some people, since it's if people want to self-manage, again, it's a bit out there. So I just looked up, real estate agents in Tahlequah, and I just like scrolled through and looked for the first like kind of like I kind of opened up and looked at a lot of like Karens at first, and like I just did not like want to ask them to take any photos, because they're going to ask a million and one questions, and they're just going to be like extremely difficult to deal with. So I just picked like the first like chill looking guy that I saw, and named
Nice.
Tyler. I won't say the last name. And then I gave him a call. He took the pictures and he was like, "Hey, do you have this under contract? What's the deal with it?" And I explained, and he was like, "Oh, okay." He's like, "Well, if anything falls through, let me know." And the other buyers, they were kind of like giving me BS, like being a little wishy washy. So I hit him up and gave him the terms, and he was like, he's like, typically this would be something we're interested in, but we're a little overloaded right now. I'm like, okay, well, that sucks. So, and a couple of days later, I'm still trying to find a good buyer for it, and he hits me up out of nowhere. He's like, "Hey, spoke with my wife. We want to check him out. We want to make it work." And I knew it was kind of inevitable, because I know there's zero doubt in my mind that he's ever seen terms this good on
Right.
anything, let alone like a really sizable deal too. Like, and so went out, checked him out. He said they were a little worse for wear, but I mean, I already had a ton of interior pictures previously, and there was like a teensy bit of mold, like some wear and tear, but I mean, nothing bad, like really at all. He said he was ready to go. I connected him with the point person, the title company. He sent in the earnest money. That got sent in. The title work started. I'm completely hands off for that part. The title company just handles all that. Title company, because I think it was in Muskogee County. So typically with rural counties, like title work and things like that, since they're usually not as up to date, like these more rural counties, like things usually take a lot longer, because you're dealing with like municipalities and records that are like a county with like 40,000 people, as opposed to like LA County or like Cook County or
Right.
bigger counties. But it actually came back pretty quickly, like a lot faster than we were expecting, in like 2 weeks. There were a few title problems, because they still need to like work up like the abstract for the title, which I generally don't even fully understand. Like, people can get worried, but it's like the title company knows how to do the title company job. The real estate agent knows how to do the agent's job. The wholesaler knows how to do the wholesaler's job. So it's not like you need to know everything. Like, you can kind of stay in your own lane. Like, not that you should stay
Right.
intentionally ignorant, but people shouldn't be obsessing over like, things that are just like, it's just not their job. So,
Exactly. Yeah.
yeah. So there were a few problems with that. The sellers, they had to come in and re-sign. We had to get a few amendments done, because actually a new wholesaling law was going into Oklahoma.
Right.
Um,
Love
yeah,
love it, because like there's just no, it's just, I love it. I love it.
yeah, exactly. And the law seems like, reading because I read the law, and it seems like very, very scary. But then a guy I'm really close with in Tulsa gave me a contract, because he's an actual buyer there, that he's been using, and it's like it adds like maybe like 3 sentences of like bold
Literally,
text. Yeah, and
literally
he's already closed with it too. So I mean, it's like,
for me, literally, it's just like, y'all guys can back out of the agreement for the sellers, and that's literally the difference. Like, that's, at least for me, from what I've seen.
yeah, and it's like the beautiful thing about a lot of these laws, like quick tangent, but it's like the beautiful thing a lot about them. Not only does it eliminate a lot of people who are not serious and just like kind of like fakers, but it also 99% of the time it's not even a problem. If like if you're already building the rapport
Exactly.
and if you've done your job correctly up until that point, there's a very small chance out of your control that the new jargon you have to add in these kinds of agreements will actually be a problem. And if it is, I mean, the worst case scenario, you can put down some refundable earnest money yourself, or I mean, like you
Yeah.
can. It's really just like a small like speed bump on the entire thing. So I don't even know if I'd call it a speed bump. So we had to change a few things. Just change, the LLC the buyer was taking it down on, and also like a disclosure because he's an agent. So we had like a quick disclosure, which they were totally fine with. Because and again, if I hadn't built such a insane amount of rapport up until this point with the mother and son, I genuinely think they would have backed out because we were like changing things. They had to come in person multiple times. Like it was like a more extended process than I wanted to. But I mean, at no single point did they ever give me any friction about anything. Because I probably total with the son and mother and son, I probably spent like 4 or 5 hours on the phone.
Mhm.
Most of it not even talking about the deal, is talking about, where they want to go, why they want to go there, like what's holding them back right now with the property, why they even be open to a creative deal. And, it made sense because you know, they want to retire and they'd rather have, like a fixed monthly income from the property without having to deal with any tenants. And,
Perfect.
the tax burden helps a lot too. Cause I mean, if they sold it for like 750 grand, the entire property, I mean, the capital gains tax would have wrecked them. So and, doing it this way, it does like really extend out, them receiving their income. So it does help like the tax burden a lot. So it just made sense. And I wouldn't have known that if, I didn't actually get to know them and not the property.
Right.
So yeah,
That's a really high leverage point right there that people like don't understand. And I'm sure like if maybe somebody else have called and just strictly were ripping stuff and not putting their needs first, they probably wouldn't have gotten the deal because like you're understanding them on like a human to human level, like what's going on. Like you were on the phone with them for quite some time. So that's a high leverage point that people underestimate. And yeah, man, it's cool to see. And yeah, dude, I think that's crazy leverage right there.
yeah, it was great. So I mean, the title company was going to come in person to sign because they were going to drive over instead of doing a mobile notary because they had people they wanted to visit in Tahlequah anyway, but didn't work out. So we had to wait one more week. Just got a little extension. Um, the buyers and the buyer and seller signed at the buyer's office downtown, actually in Tahlequah, and then it was a remote closing. Sent the documents over to Tulsa. That was on a Thursday, and then I wanted a physical check because I thought it'd be really cool. So, and the physical
You have
check.
it?
Oh yeah, oh yeah. Wait, oh I do. Yeah, you're
Oh, let's see it, man.
here. Yeah, I don't know. Maybe I did frame it.
Oh man, what does that say? 44,965
Yeah, I'm not lying.
Dude.
Yeah, I don't want to show my
Oh
address.
my, dude, that is awesome, bro. Congrats, man. And dude, finish. I'm sorry, I'm just so excited. I'm
Oh no, that's
interrupting.
cool.
So
Yeah, I should have. Yeah, I
yeah,
should have had it ready. Yeah, that's like a prop.
yeah,
That's funny. But yeah, it closed. And I circled back with the buyer, and the buyer even was like, "Yeah, if you're ever in town, like, I'll take you out to lunch," because we had a good relationship too. Because I
yeah.
got to know him pretty well because he was just a cool guy, like crazy, like you would never know, but like he probably owns like 30 million in real estate, like totally paid off, like complete animal. So I got to know
Dude, and
him.
yeah,
Yeah,
and yeah, just so cool.
yeah. So I got to know him too. Sellers were all happy. Title company, again, like if you're ever closing anything in Oklahoma, Empire Title is like the best title company I've ever worked with. Like I've probably worked with like 10, and they're by far the best. And then it just closed out. So like there were some bumps, but I mean, some of it I think was luck, but I probably say 70% of it was just the fact that, since I did do such a good job in the beginning, like I said, making that connection, a lot of problems and speed bumps that came up after were negated heavily. So I think it's just a real testament to like, actually, putting the time and learning, how to build these relationships and being like actually genuine, like will serve you not only monetarily, like, more money, but also just like a lot less stress and hassle too. And it's a lot more genuine as well, just human to human.
Yeah, man. I think that's super, super freaking powerful. How was it, getting that check whenever everything closed and you went through all of that, pushing the marketing, talking to the sellers, doing amendments, finding the buyer in the classroom? Like, how did it feel whenever you got that check?
Yeah, it was pretty wild. Because I mean, the first thing I thought about too is like, my total time commitment, like total time commitment for the deal is probably 7 hours, maybe like 6 or 7 hours totally. And I thought about, I'm like, okay, like for 7 hours of work, making like 45 grand. The first thing I thought about was like what, like making sure I like my taxes squared away, which is because that just kind of like scared the hell out of me. Um, but it was like really, really, really surreal because I didn't tell my parents as well because and so I showed my mom, showed my dad, and they were both like, because like, they've understood up to this point, but like I mean, it was definitely, it was obviously different. I mean, when it's that kind of money, like they like had, and like they vaguely understand like what wholesaling is, even though it's not like rocket science. But I mean, very
Are
like
you, what did you do? Did you do something illegal? Like,
yeah,
what's
because they
going
they
on?
think it's like fraud, or I'm like doing something like, or I'm like
Yeah,
embezzling money or something like that. But I spent like an hour explaining to them at the beginning, like when I showed it, like because they knew nothing about this. I think their eyes totally lit up, and just I definitely extremely proud. And that felt genuinely just as good as the check itself. I mean, because it's just like who doesn't want that, especially since I already
right.
had a pretty good relationship with both my parents, and it was like extremely vindicating. Like what man does not want to feel? Like, what any person does not want to feel that? So
Yeah.
um, yeah, that felt great as well. Cashing it was even funnier. I mean, because in person, like I came in like looking super raggedy, like I was wearing like really beat up Jordans, like sweatpants. I'm like a sweatshirt, looking like I'm like nearly homeless. And I went in person to cash the check, and I forgot my ID in the car too because I forgot my wallet in the car. And like they're kind of like asking multiple
Perfect.
questions about, yeah, they're asking me questions about the check, and they were like, because I had brought up like, yeah, I was just gonna do it on my phone. They're like, oh, you wouldn't have been able to do that with a check this large, and it would not be like rude all, but they were just very like much more like
Yeah,
interested, have like
cautious.
just a little more precaution because I mean, like it was double the money, all the money I had in like all of my accounts at the
Yeah,
time. So cashed it, show up the next day, and that's kind of history now. I'm a pretty
nice, man.
frugal person, so I've spent like $2,000 of it, and the rest I'm just like figuring out what I need to pay in taxes, and then the rest is going to go into like more marketing and hopefully buying a few properties this year. So I mean, it's hopefully it'll work
Nice,
out.
man. Dude, that's cool. And what do you think, as far as like this deal, like what strength, what did it strengthen for you?
I think it even helped reinforce my resolve even more because again, I first made contact in like first half of August, like maybe around August 7th, and it closed November 20 something, like it was 21st, 22nd. So I mean, to know like you have something of this magnitude on your plate and like it's just months and months and months of just like things out of your control, it did help kind of help me like quell that like spiraling thoughts that come into my head, like all the things that can go wrong and everything. And so like it did help my actual like determination at that point, since like I'm kind of like living as like a bystander in my own life, and like for months and months and months I didn't know exactly how much to make off the deal because I thought I'd make 25 to 50, so this was definitely on the higher end. So it did help like with my resolve, like actually being patient, understanding that things that are out of my control, I can help speed along, but I'm not God. So I just kind of I have to take the punches as I go.
And what would you tell yourself like whenever you're first getting started? What's some advice that you would tell yourself to kind of like crunch your, collapse time?
Yeah, I mean, I think no matter what, like totally, totally, totally be okay failing. And I remember my first few calls and like just how horribly I sounded. And not that I'm like, the best closer or the best over the phone, now currently, but the amount of just tangible, genuine progress I've seen in myself, and the 7 and 8 or 9 deals that I've closed in the past like year. Like I'm a completely different changed person in and outside of just, the money and the business as well, but even outside of it, the ramifications and the kind of like the domino effect that I've seen with other aspects of my life, just like being able to make human connections, interpersonal skills, just general communication has been like a massive uptick. And I mean, 'cause, I graduated college and I interned at, like, a Fortune 100 company in downtown Chicago, and I got like, and this isn't even just a brag, but just like show, like, where my head is. But, like, I've gotten, like three offers from like Fortune 200, 250 companies for like sales positions. I've been through like many, like 3, 4, 5 rounds of interviews at like very large companies. And especially with how horrible the job market is right now, it's very flattering. And, it definitely does put more pressure on me too, because I'm choosing to do this over, taking the safe path when I've met people who are like 24, 25, making like, 150 to 250 is like killer salespeople, these companies, and great institutions to work for. But I've turned it all down. As in, I've turned it all down. So I mean, yeah, which is got a lot of wholesalers. They don't really wholesale in college, or they drop out. It's not really. So I think it's kind of cool, this perspective where, like, I did finish college. I did do all the interviews, and like I still like just kind of said no. And like at this point, at first it was kind of like scary, but now it's like genuinely like no worry in my mind that I'd made the wrong decision at all. So I mean, it is flattering, and it does add on to the pressure, but in a good way. So yeah, that's probably my long-winded response.
The cool thing about that is, like, those will always be there. You know what I mean? Like, the one thing that you're not ever gonna regret is whenever you're like on your deathbed or you're on your rocking chair and you're like, dang, should I have went all in on it? Like, that's one thing that you're experienced, like, that you can't experience everywhere, like anywhere. They don't teach this in business class. You know what I mean? Like, they don't teach this in business class. But no, dude, that's super powerful stuff, bro. It's super impressive to see like your growth, things like how you've grown as a person, the questions that you've been asking. And dude, I love when other people are super successful. And yeah, man. And as far as like the stuff that, you're in the Genesis community, what's something that maybe you've learned, or some cool stuff that you like from the community, in the paid one, versus like, other things that you've experienced, or just kind of like some gold nuggets. Yeah, that's the question.
Yeah, so I definitely think starting out, the most useful thing was kind of twofold. Probably the first like week was just kind of like understanding just what the basic blueprint was for like just general standard operating procedures you should follow, and it's not kind of like falling for like all of the glitz and glamour and the bait you see online. Like things will go wrong, problems will arise, but I'd probably say most beneficial is just the Slack group that's attached Genesis. It's really nice, when people ask questions or have wins or everything like that. Everyone, and like it's really like, at first it almost seemed like kind of corny to me, like like hyping people up when they get wins, but it's really not. So I mean, 'cause it can be isolating wholesaling, because I mean it's a grind, and like it's a grind. It's not an extremely collaborative effort, although it can be for some things more so than others. And I'm just in my room all day doing it. So I mean, seeing other people, their struggles, their successes, questions, it's really comforting and kind of insulating from like the monotony of the whole thing, to have those kinds of people always surrounded by you, by your side. And the weekly calls do help a lot too. I think honestly, even more so with the questions for the weekly calls, it's more so beneficial just like seeing like the status updates where everyone else is at. If someone's doing really well, using that as motivation to do even better than them, and then people just keep like leapfrogging each other, like for the betterment of everybody else. And then also seeing people's struggles as well, like people like with really basic problems that you can solve in like 30 minutes with questions they have, and then they're like right back on track. So I definitely think, like, you put into perspective, like the smallest wholesale deal, I mean, they obviously can get smaller, but like that's like the smallest deal you could ever do is like $3,000. Like the first deal I did was $3,300. And like, I mean, if we're talking $200 a month, times 12, $2,400, I think a lot of people, they do it to pinch pennies when it comes to wholesale. But if you think about like the cost of data, or the cost of what Genesis might cost, for example, like these are all profound drops in the buckets, which is why like I wouldn't even be opposed to like paying $20,000 for like extremely intensive like wholesaling sales training mentorship and group, like something like people doing like top of the top, like, 9, 10, $12 million a year, just because when you do put things into perspective, like $200, and I'm not even trying to like, like glaze or like, just like hype it up. Like, I'm not making any money off this. Like I wasn't told to say anything, but it's like, it really is a drop in the bucket. Like if actually have some determination, you're doing it for 6 months and like you're constantly trying to learn, like it'd be tough not to close a deal. Like, and like, let's say like a normal deal, like something still smaller too, like six or seven, $8,000. Like it's really it's a very like, nice ratio in terms of, the actual cost that goes into it. And then your trajectory after as well. Cause the beginning's always going to be the hardest.
Yeah, dude. And dude, I appreciate that, man. It's really cool. And yeah, man, I really appreciate it. It's cool to see. Dude, it's just like I love it so much because I just get to connect with like you or like people that are actually in the community. And then it's literally just iron sharpens iron. Like just like what problems do you have? Let's fix them. And I tell everybody, it's like being a part of like a good community. Like there's a bunch of gyms, there's a bunch of sucky gyms, and there's gyms where you actually make gains. And just kind of like communities, like there's some just like ass communities, and there's some badass communities, literally. And so like what I see is like it's cool, man, just to see like iron sharpens iron, and there's nothing to hide. Like there's no like I get on calls with a bunch of people and they're like, man, you're really genuine. You really, tell everything. I'm like, dude, I will tell everybody everything that I do. Like 1% of them are going to actually do it. You know what I mean? Like, it's like,
And stick
yeah,
with people like us. Yeah.
yeah. And it's cool to see too, like you said, like it's almost hard not to get your, deal. Like I'm going to see so much of that this upcoming 2026, I believe, because like, I love how like the barrier to entry for wholesale is like really, really easy. It's getting easier, like tools like Deal Machine. Like, dude, I just started implementing Deal Machine like half into the year. I used to spend $3,000 just to pull 100,000 records in Skip Trace. Like I do that at the fraction of Deal Machine. Like it used to be extremely hard, and it's getting easier and easier. People can't stick to one thing for a very long time. I love that so much. We have that like as an advantage. And like wholesaling for me, I don't see like right now the new thing is like AI advertisement for small businesses, or
Yeah.
drop shipping, Facebook, like Amazon FBA, like Aman Godzi's thing. I'm like, dude, yes, all y'all guys go do that, because it's just going to get easier and easier. There's going to be so much more opportunity in 2026. And what is this, like you did 10 deals last year, or this year?
Yeah. In the past, like running 12 months, like eight, maybe eight.
Okay.
If you could include like a JV, more like nine, but yeah.
Okay, sweet. So you did 9 deals this year. Like you did 8, 9 deals in one of the hardest years in real estate.
Yeah.
Like imagine and you're just starting to understand it. Like and it's not like you're capped. Like you're going to get better and better and better. You know what I mean? So it's just crazy, man. Like the opportunity that y'all guys are going to experience in 2026, that everybody is. But yeah, man. And last kind of wild card question. Um, if you were to pass a book down to your future kid, what would it be?
Mm, it's funny because I actually, like, when I was in, because I mean, like, for most of school, like especially high school and middle school, I was, getting suspended, like lots of detentions, like, a pretty horrible student. Like I was really different back then, but I was like, I like did always take like, some like higher level like creative writing classes. It would honestly probably mostly be because I like George Orwell's books are really, really good. So I'd probably say 1984, honestly, because that was one of the few books that I actually read all the way through in high school, and I enjoyed it a lot. I think everyone should read it because, I mean, not only do I think like it really, for how deep the book does go, and in the themes that it does discuss with, like, like oppression and actually like practicing adversity like day in and day out. I think it gives really, really great perspective, especially for how like fortunate we are to live in a country like this, a country that, yeah, is not perfect. There's most certainly like major, major problems, especially that I think are festering even more so now. But in general, how lucky we are to be able to just open a laptop, costs a few $100 and just start making like, large amounts of money, feeling fulfilled. And the barrier to entry for, all kinds of different businesses, you don't have to, pay any one-off bribes or like, appease some kind of large institution, but like it's literally just the country is just it's a complete sandbox for opportunity. And yeah, of course there are problems, but I mean, actually feeling fortunate that especially with the time that I have in my hands now, that I didn't settle for a job. I am out of college. Like, it feels like so weird and like liberating that I have this time and I have all the tools, and there's just like it's just infinite possibilities out there. Whether it's developing or flipping or even something outside of real estate as well. Like I really think like people like how fortunate even if you live outside the United States, I mean, you can still take advantage of the wholesaling side of the country. Like how fortunate you should feel that there's like, especially with where technology is at, like 15 years ago, like you can remote wholesaling, like doing everything truly remote was like very different. Not even super like it was pretty non-existent, and like just like we live in like such even like in a down market like this, like such a golden age of just like infinite possibility and opportunities, like a complete abundance mindset. Like it's just I think it's really impossible not to have that.
Nice, man. Well, super powerful. I read that book too in high school.
Yeah.
That was that one's good, man. But okay, man. Where's and last but not least, like where can everybody find you?
Yeah, I mean, I did post. I didn't say this, but I did post my first TikTok. And I batched
Sweet.
I batched like 10 more that I'm gonna be doing like first single day. Um, yeah, TikTok is my first name, THOMAS, last name MARQUARDT. I think there's no slash or anything, but I'm gonna be posting more on there too. I don't even really, I'm not, I don't even like at any point in the future like want to like sell like anything really. It's really fun for me to do too, and I like interacting with people as well. So I mean, even with people like asking questions, it just feels really good to get the good karma and help people out. And just like and because it takes like no time out of my day. So if people have questions, if they comment, I'll answer.
Sounds good, man. Well, dude, great interview. I think this one is super sick. I like your style. I love how you implemented the SMS, but with the stuff that you learned previously with the creative. And dude, it's just really powerful stuff. And like $45,000, bro, like that's worthy, man. That's a nice. That's not no $2,000, $3,000 deal. Although those are amazing deals, but I mean, dude, congrats to you, bro. Give you your flowers that you deserve, and dude, keep going, man.
Thanks. I appreciate having me on. I'm hoping to probably I'm hoping to like consistently do 2 to 3 deals, and by the end of this year, more like 4 to 6. But so
Heck yeah.
see where the future takes us.
Awesome, bro. All right, we'll see you.
Have a good one.